Hi, I'm Marcia Smith, Professor Edwin Turner's Comp 2 class, April 2018. This is an oral presentation of my research project on gentrification. I found gentrification on the Opposing Viewpoints database and was intrigued. I had never seen the word before. I immediately thought, when I read just a little bit of it, about Soho, the Greenwich Village, artists, bohemian type people, and it does go in that direction in some areas. I've found many scholarly journals. I have found many articles. I've found some books. One of the things that I did do is look it up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and Merriam-Webster says it is the process of renewal and rebuilding accompanying the influx of middle-class or affluent people into deteriorating areas that often displaces poorer residents. That's true. This does not say they're black or they're white. It just says it happens. In reviewing all this, I do find that my thesis developed pretty much as a statement that I don't believe that it is caused by racism. I think that it is an economic issue, that it is a basic rotation of life, a normal way of life, normal happenings. I believe fewer families are actually dislocated by gentrification than people would have you believe. There's a direct quote from Opposing Viewpoint Overviews that says, "It occurs in urban neighborhoods when higher income people move in and displace lower income existing residents." That's true. It's a theory expressed by many people, but it does not say anything about whether they're black and white. Again, it does not say. In 2002, Jacob Vigdor, he's an economist at the University of Washington, he did a study on gentrified neighborhoods from 1974 through 1997. And he said that, yes, there were people that relocated from those neighborhoods, but there were not that many that relocated because of the gentrification, that the number was lower than expected. In 2004, Lance Freeman and Frank Bracconi, they were economists with the Columbia University. They did a study on the 1990 gentrification of neighborhoods in New York City. They said again that the number was fewer than expected that relocated because of the gentrification. This is not something that happens. It's just a natural rotation of life for low-income people to relocate. Gentrification. This is another quote. It's a wiki quote. Gentrification is a trend in urban neighborhoods which results in increased property values and the displacing of lower income families and small businesses. When property values increase, taxes increase. Taxes increase, landlords increase rent. Basic renewal of life. People move. I actually found this confirmation of some of this information in Obituary. I got a little bit of a chuckle out of that. Neil Smith, a well-known geographer and anthropologist, died in 2012, and in his obituary, Don Mitchell mentioned this in his write-up for The Guardian. Neil commented, or often commented, on the middle-class families seeking to improve their way of life. He studied the rent gap, the fact that the low-income homes rent out at one level, but if you come in, you refurbish them, then you get a higher rent. This gets the developers interested. You get them interested, and then your individual people notice this is happening. So you've got your private investors that get interested. And then your cities notice. Everybody wants a piece of the action. They want some of the money. There's your rent gap issue. In How to Kill a City, Peter Moskowitz, he refers to Professor Philip Clay's, and Professor Philip Clay, by the way, is a black man. He is in the department of MIT's Department of Urban Studies and Planning. In 1979, he said that there are 5 stages to gentrification. One of those stages has to do where the cities realize that they have to increase their tax base. In doing so, they provide incentives to corporations to come in and improve the low-income neighborhoods. This moves people out, the ones that can't afford to stay. There are people that stay. In 2015, I believe it was, Jean Hafner, she has a PhD. She wrote the view from above. And she says that rent control and regulations by law requiring developers to complete units that provide affordable housing is one answer. And it is definitely, because cities that pass these laws and require developers to do this, they find that they can provide better homes for these low-income people to live in, and they're happier and they have happier communities. In 2006, Kathy Newman, she's another PhD, she did a study on the American Housing Survey from 2003. Her survey indicates that 42.6% of the families moved due to expenses, not due to gentrification. They moved due to expenses, and they were displaced household. No mention of color. In closing, John Bunton, he is a well-known journalist. He writes for the Governing magazine. He writes for Slate magazine. He calls gentrification a myth. He says that it's a normal process of everyday life, and I agree with that 100%. He says that what people need, no matter what their color is, they need a better education, they need a better job, they need that opportunity to believe in themselves and to be able to afford to have a better home. They need their leaders of their communities to give them that opportunity. They need them to stand up and pay attention. They need them to give them a chance. Give them a job. If they're going to give them some charity, let them go out and dig a hole and fill it up. That's just my idea, not his, by the way. But give them some kind of income so that they can help pay for this. But if all the leaders of all the municipalities, whether it is the city, the county, the state, or federal government, would look towards education and employment more so than just providing a handout, it would educate the people and give them more opportunity to provide for themselves. It would give them incentives, and hopefully it would alleviate some of the poverty in this nation, and for that matter, the entire world. Thank you for listening.